Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a psychological thriller film, Run. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with doctors saving a baby. At the same time, Diane is in a wheelchair and she goes to her baby. She cries as she sees her baby in a critical condition. Diane asks the doctors if the baby will be okay, but the doctor goes silent. Years later, in a meeting, a woman cries as she shares her life story as a parent. The meeting leader hands out a box of tissues and goes to ask Diane about how she feels about her daughter, Chloe, going to college after a few months. Diane responds that she feels great and adds that Chloe is the most capable person she knows. The next scene shows an alarm beeping, waking up Chloe. She gets up from her bed and heads to the bathroom. She cleans herself and drinks her medicines. She goes downstairs while Diane is preparing their food. After they eat, Chloe checks her blood sugar and injects herself with insulin. Then, Diane helps Chloe review her subjects, and her day goes on. A mailman arrives. Chloe rushes to the door, but is greeted by Diane, who just received the mail. Chloe is expecting to receive mail from college, and Diane says that if they receive mail from college, she'll quickly give the mail to Chloe. Diane then proceeds to put the bin in the mail in their basement. In the garden, Diane harvests veggies to cook for dinner. The following night, Chloe is fixing something, and Diane asks what's wrong with it. Chloe responds that she doesn't know, and says if she had an iPhone, then she can tell. Diane heads downstairs and watches clips of Chloe when she was little. The next day, Chloe is studying when Diane arrives from buying groceries. Chloe watches her unload the bags from her car at the window. Diane goes to the kitchen and puts down the bags of groceries. Then Diane receives a call, so she goes outside to have a good reception. Chloe quickly heads to the groceries and proceeds to steal chocolates. She unexpectedly sees medicine for Diane. Diane goes back inside, so Chloe rushes back to her table. Nighttime arrives, and Diane informs Chloe that the doctor called her earlier. Then she gives Chloe the medicine. Chloe says that she thought it's Diane's medicine. Diane responds on why would Chloe think that. Chloe then admits that she took the chocolates in the grocery bags, and she saw the medicine with Diane's name on it. Diane scolds Chloe about taking too much chocolate, and she ignores Chloe's question about the medicine. Diane says that her name was not on the prescription, but it is on the receipt. Then Chloe drinks her medicine, and she gets ready to sleep. The following morning, she still gets confused about the medicine that was given to her by Diane, and she is having second thoughts about taking it. Chloe gets her support machine and tries to grab the medicine she saw in the grocery bag. Then, a vehicle approaches, so Chloe calls Diane. She attempts to go outside, but she is greeted by Diane. After that, she manages to get the medicine and discovers that it's Tridexin. She turns the container and finds her name on the prescription instead of Diane's, so she peels the prescription and discovers Diane's name on it. The following night, Diane gives Chloe her medications, and then they greet each other goodnight. Chloe gets suspicious of Diane, so she pretends to drink her medicine. When Diane leaves, she quickly spits the medicine out. Chloe goes out of her room in the middle of the night and heads downstairs. She accesses Diane's computer and attempts to search for what Tridexin is for, but she discovers that her computer does not have internet access. Diane is across the room, watching Chloe, but Chloe doesn't notice. The morning comes, Chloe's alarm beeps, but she is already awake. Then Chloe cleans herself in the bathroom, and she hears Diane speaking to someone on her phone. Diane talks to the service provider of their internet and says that they did not have an internet connection. Meanwhile, Chloe heads down to the kitchen. Then the service provider informs Diane that they might not have an internet connection for a week. Diane hangs up angrily, and they proceed to eat. Chloe asks Diane about the internet, but Diane asks Chloe about how she knows about the connection problem. So Chloe makes an excuse that she used Diane's computer last night to search on why her printer is always dying. Later, Chloe looks out of her window and sees Diane gardening, so she rushes to grab the telephone to call the pharmacy and ask about the medication. But she puts down the telephone when the pharmacist asks if she's Diane. She peeks outside the window while Diane is still gardening. So Chloe dials and calls 411, but she hangs up the phone again, as she knows using the service has taxes and it will be added to the next billing. Chloe attempts to dial a random number. She peeks outside the window and sees Diane gone. She still continues to talk to the guy and asks him to Google Tridexin. The guy responds that the pill is red, but the pill Chloe is taking is green. Over dinner, Chloe asks Diane when was the last time they saw a movie. Diane asks Chloe what she wants to see. So the next day, they head out to watch movies. When they arrive at the cinema, Chloe sees the pharmacy as they proceed inside the cinema. Chloe excuses herself, asking Diane that she needs to pee, but she goes outside the cinema and rushes to the pharmacy. Chloe approaches the pharmacist and asks her about the pills. Chloe tells her about the pills named under Diane, so the pharmacist refuses to help Chloe as it is confidential. Chloe tries to convince her that she can't ask Diane directly because they're playing a scavenger hunt. Chloe discovers that the pill she has been taking is actually for dogs. So Chloe asks the pharmacist what would happen if a human would take that medicine. The pharmacist responds that the legs of the person who's taking the medicine could go numb. Shortly after, Diane arrives at the pharmacy and Chloe is having an asthma attack. Diane goes to her and tells her that everything's going to be okay. Diane proceeds to inject her leg that causes her to fall asleep, and so they go back home. Diane puts Chloe to bed. She then calls the pharmacist and apologizes for the trouble Chloe caused her. She asks the pharmacist to call Chloe about the pills and assure her that it's safe. The following morning, Chloe sees breakfast for her on the table. She quickly rides her wheelchair and attempts to open her door, but it is locked. Chloe calls out to Diane, asking her to talk and explain, but there is no response. Chloe looks out of the window and their car is gone. Chloe tries to open the door with pins and she manages to unlock the knob, but the door is locked from the outside. Chloe eats her breakfast. Then she goes outside from the window and crawls to the other window. Chloe uses a tool and breaks the window. Then she enters Diane's bedroom. She crawls back to her bedroom to remove the obstacle that is locking her door. While she is having an asthma attack, she opens her door and fortunately grabs her nebulizer in time. Chloe pushes her wheelchair down the stairs because her stairlift machine was destroyed by Diane. She falls after she pushes her wheelchair. Then Chloe cries as she feels her legs moving again. She desperately gets up and rides her wheelchair to go outside. Meanwhile, Diane is heading back to their house. On the road, Chloe almost gets run over by a truck. The driver goes out of the vehicle and asks Chloe what happened. Chloe asks for the driver's help. Diane sees them and the driver quickly hides Chloe. Diane asks the driver about Chloe, and the driver confronts Diane about what Chloe said to him. So Diane threatens to call the authorities, but there is no reception. Diane tries to convince the driver by making him feel guilty, but the driver refuses. The driver then goes to Chloe and asks her where to go. Chloe says that they should go to the police. Surprisingly, Diane finds her syringe in the medkit and proceeds to inject the driver with it. The following moment, Chloe wakes up in the basement, and Diane approaches her. Chloe discovers a letter from the college indicating that she passed the entrance exam. On the other hand, Diane drags the driver's body. Chloe finds a box with Diane's name on it. She tries to get it, but her wheelchair is chained to a metal. So Chloe crawls to get the box. She opens it and finds several documents and pictures. Chloe sees a picture of her when she was still young, showing that she was able to walk perfectly with her legs at that time. Then Chloe sees a death certificate with her name written on it. Afterward, she sees a news document about a stolen baby. To her shock, Chloe learns that Diane's biological daughter died after she gave birth to her and that she is the stolen baby. Diane arrives, asking Chloe what she's doing, and she sees Chloe holding the document. Chloe confronts Diane, but Diane insists that she's her real mother. Diane tries to convince Chloe that they'll start their life again and forget what happened, but Chloe refuses and responds to Diane that everything Diane did was not for Chloe, but for herself. Diane grabs a syringe and fills it with a liquid. She attempts to inject Chloe, but Chloe goes inside a door and locks it. Diane tries to convince Chloe to open the door, assuring Chloe that she's not going to hurt her. As Chloe cries, Diane continues to bang on the door. Chloe sees a bottle of medicine and grabs it. Meanwhile, Diane hears a bottle clanking, so she rushes to grab the keys to the door and unlocks it. When Diane unlocks the door, Chloe drinks the bottle of medicine. Diane tries to stop her, but fails. Later that day, Diane takes Chloe to the hospital. The doctors gather around Chloe, trying to save her. After some time, Chloe wakes up on the hospital bed. Meanwhile, the doctors inform Diane that Chloe is a high-risk patient and a mental physician needs to talk to Chloe. After talking with the doctors, Diane goes outside Chloe's room and peeks through the glass window. Chloe sees her, and her heartbeat starts to increase as she gets nervous, so Diane leaves. Chloe presses the bell button, so the nurse asks her what she needs. Chloe signs that she wants to write something, so the nurse helps her. Chloe writes slowly as the nurse waits, but suddenly an alarm beeps, indicating a code blue, so the nurse leaves in a hurry. Chloe gets nervous and breathes faster. Her heartbeat then starts to increase, and it drops to 0. But it turns out Diane removed Chloe's oxygen and injected Chloe. She puts Chloe in a wheelchair and attempts to escape the hospital with her. They go inside the elevator, and Diane whispers to Chloe that they'll spend their lives, making sure Chloe doesn't feel that way again. Diane kisses her on the cheek after. Diane adds that Chloe is right about needing her. She chuckles and says Chloe needs her too, and that she'll always need her because she's her mother. Meanwhile, the nurse goes back to Chloe's room, but finds her gone. The nurse asks if the patient was moved, but the worker responds no. The nurse finds Chloe's note, indicating the word mom on the hospital bed. The hospital is now in a security emergency, so Diane rushes to escape while arming herself with a pistol. They stop at a broken escalator, and Diane tries to move Chloe's wheelchair. Chloe stops it from moving. Diane goes in front of her and uncovers Chloe's blanket. There she finds Chloe's legs moving. Chloe says to Diane that she doesn't need her, and the security arrives. Diane attempts to point her gun at them, and she is shot down by the security. Diane falls down the escalator, and the security goes to her. Chloe, on the other hand, is taken care of by the nurses. 7 years later, Chloe is in a rehabilitation center and is now able to move her legs. She is also able to walk slowly using a stick. Then in the following scene, Chloe visits Diane in the infirmary and asks her how she's doing, while Diane is just lying down on her bed. After a while, Chloe says goodbye and spits a pill from her mouth. She says "I love you" to Diane and orders her to open her mouth wide. It must be an act of revenge for all the things that Chloe experienced from the past. This is Daniel CC Booty Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.